The only thing I totally admired about Sleepy Joe Biden is the following. He'd go to a beach, he'd lay down in a cot, barely able to get his feet through the sand. He'd lay down, and within minutes he's sleeping, and you have cameras watching him. I could never do that. I would never be able to sleep like that. It's about the only thing I think that was wonderful. I don't sleep much. A lot of people that love what they're doing don't sleep much, I find, and so far it's been okay.
So far it's been okay. President Trump, who works morning, noon, and night, he's tweeting and posting on Truth Social at midnight 30 and then again at 3 a.m., and he's busy from 6 a.m. till midnight. He's a hard-working guy. We're getting our money's worth out of him. Where is Joe Biden? I'm going to keep asking, where is Joe Biden? Has he been sent to that prison in El Salvador? Where is Joe Biden? What happened to Joe Biden? He is, he might be in a permanent care facility of some kind. He might be dragging a 6-ounce lawn chair through the sand, the beach in Delaware, having trouble doing that, as I remember the last time around. Well, a very good Thursday to you, and welcome back. We remain at 888-630-9625. The radical left news media like MSDNC and these, when they're not firebombing Tesla dealerships, they're applauding Democrat-appointed judges that are obstructing the Trump presidency at every possible turn. And every time you pick up a newspaper or turn on Al Gore's amazing internet, peace be upon him, there's another Democrat judge like this Boasberg guy who's, hey, turn those planes around, bring those Venezuelan gang members back to the United States and let them loose in junior high schools across America in the girls' locker rooms, because that's what the Democrats want. Oh, speaking of which, Tim Walz, have you seen, has anybody remember Tim Walz? We did a segment on my television show on Newsmax last night and included a little bit of Tim Walz, and I swear there are people in the newsroom who are saying, who was Kamala Harris's running mate again? He's one of the most forgettable people ever to enter the world of politics. But Tim Walz, he's out there. He thinks people are afraid of him. These people, they misunderstand everything going on around them. Living is easy with eyes closed. Bum, bum, bum. Misunderstanding all you see. Bum, bum, bum. And he's out there getting it wrong. On with his pal, Gavin Newsom, the hair gel guy from California. And he's got a podcast because, everybody's grandmother has a podcast, and so does Gavin Newsom. It's quite remarkable to see. But he is a complete goof, and it turns out that he's got a goofy daughter, too. He's got a daughter, I don't know, she must be 20 years old or something, and she decided to post a video of herself where she curses. They have to use the F word in every sentence, otherwise it's not an official sentence. But Tim Walz's daughter posted a video about tampons in boys' bathrooms in schools, and she said, if you're not enthusiastic about tampons in boys' bathrooms, then you are weird. In fact, there's the expletive deleted in front of the word weird. Then you are beeping weird, because that's Tim Walz. She grew up in Tim Walz's house. Can you imagine? Must be awesome living in the shadow of the war hero Tim Walz with his rompin', stompin', life-taking experience in the Iraq War and all that good stuff. Remarkable stuff. We've got judges everywhere. Texas judge rules to suspend approval of abortion pill, and CNN very, very upset about that. Very upset about that. And the Washington Post, the Compost today, they've got a story too. Judge halts Trump effort to kill Biden fund. The Washington Post calls it a Biden fund because on his way out the door, Joe Biden took $20 billion of our dollars and handed the $20 billion over to left-wing environmental cases. And that's deliberate environmental cases, see, because they're the enviro-terrorists. The environmental terror movement is very, very popular among Democrats these days. And They're firebombing, Molotov cocktailing, Tesla dealerships and Tesla automobiles and Tesla charging stations because they're a terrorist group, and this is political violence. Therefore, it is domestic terrorism. And the senior leaders of the Democrat Party are all in favor of domestic terrorism, violent, criminal terrorist acts. When you're firebombing places for political reasons, that's terrorism. And we've got Democrats, including members of Congress, cheering this and encouraging more of it because the Democrat Party is, look, they created, name a terrorist organization in the history of the United States like the White Knights of the Ku Klux Klan, and a statewide leader of the Democrat Party named Nathan Bedford Forrest, after the Republicans defeated the Democrats in the American Civil War and took their slaves away. Big Democrat Party leader Nathan Bedford Forrest created, I think, America's longest enduring terrorist organization, the White Knights of the KKK. The only member of the White Knights of the KKK that I ever met was a Democrat senator from West Virginia, who's the founder and a colleague of Joe Biden's for many years, a good pal of Joe Biden. He spoke at his funeral and eulogized the Klansman. He was the exalted cyclops of the Democrat Party, Senator Robert Byrd, and I interviewed him more than once, the Democrat senator from West Virginia. They created the White Knights of the KKK, the Weather Underground created by the Democrat Party and the left. Then they were the Weather Men, and then they decided that was sexist because they had women that were terrorists too, and they wanted to blow people up and kill them and steal things and be terrorists. So they called it the Weather Underground after the Weather Men, as a title was deemed to be sexist. And they created, just to go down the list of the left-wing groups, the Students for a Democratic Society, the SDS, and the Symbionese Liberation Army that kidnapped Patty Hearst, the newspaper heir, William Randolph Hearst. They, bank robberies and machine guns, and they were revolutionaries. They were bringing communist revolution. That's the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party created every terrorist organization in the world. And then the Democrats think that Catholic grandmothers that pray near abortion clinics are terrorists, and they give them years in prison. That's what the Democrat Party does because they're mentally ill, and violently, criminally mentally ill. What do we have coming up? They're arranging a big, not just national, but international anti-Elon Musk and anti-Tesla automobile crusade. They've got, they love to have like Day of Rage and all this stuff, right? So we've got a big day coming up, but back to Judge Tanya Chutkan, because the front page of the Metro sectional in the Washington Post, where a lot of their Metro sectional people work, they have the A sectional where their A sectional people work. The Metro sectional, judge halts Trump effort to kill Biden fund, and they shamelessly call it a Biden fund. Now, they stole $20 billion from us and gave the $20 billion to left-wing groups to distribute the $20 billion of our tax dollars to other left-wing radical groups, many of whom are doubtless involved in burning and attacking and shooting up, by the way, Tesla dealerships and Tesla automobiles. And then they attack the Jews in New York and call everybody else Nazis. No sense of irony, as I've been pointing out for some time now. And the Washington Post says it's not $20 billion, it's only $14 billion. $14 billion green bank. They put green bank in quotation marks, as they should, because it is a stolen criminal trust fund, a slush fund, stolen tax dollars by Joe Biden and given to left-wing groups as Joe Biden was walking out the door. It's probably closer to $20 billion because the Washington Post lies about everything that they don't just get wrong accidentally. A federal judge on Tuesday temporarily barred President Donald Trump's Environmental Protection Agency from clawing back, that's a term only used in Washington, clawing back at least $14 billion in grants. They call them grants. It's a slush fund, a criminal slush fund, in grants issued by the Biden administration for climate and clean energy projects, every single one of them run by left-wing friends of the Democrat Party. And they create a slush fund of tens of billions of dollars to give to their friends, U.S. tax dollars, and nobody gets in prison because the Washington Post, they're angry that anyone would interfere with this slush fund that the Democrats set up while Lunch Bucket Joe was on his way out the door. So the Climate and Clean Energy Project saying the EPA had not put forward, quote, credible evidence, end quote, of fraud or abuse. Well, the very idea that they would take $20 billion and just fork it over to their radical left-wing interest group friends is fraud and abuse. That is waste, fraud, abuse. It's theft. It should be criminal, but we've normalized this kind of criminal activity in government in Washington, D.C., trillions of dollars. That's why we have, what do we have here? 8 of the top 10 wealthiest counties in the United States of America, I think, are in the Washington metropolitan area because the Democrats, and occasionally a Republican or two, take our trillions of dollars and hand it over to their friends. And it's very nice. I mentioned yesterday that the former Secretary of Defense, who was out sick and didn't tell anybody, Lloyd Austin, he lives in a $3.6 million mansion in Great Falls, Virginia. And he had just left as Secretary of State, where he's making, Secretary of Defense, where I think he was making less than $200,000 a year. And, hey, here's his, I bet it's paid for, too, a $3.6 million house for the government. He was a 4-star general before that, not making $3.6 million kind of house money. But never mind that. The Washington Post says U.S. District Judge Tanya S. Chutkan, remember her, of Washington, D.C., who is an Obama appointee, but they leave that out of the Washington Post story because she's a political hatchet girl. Is she a girl, or how does she identify? I don't know. We'll just call her a hatchet person. But she's an Obama appointee, just like this other guy, Boasberg, was promoted through the ranks by Barack Obama. And they all, what do we have now? 127 court rulings against President Trump in about 2 months, 127 rulings. Turns out George W. Bush was president for 8 years, and he had the courts rule against him twice in 8 years. Twice in 8 years. For George W. Bush, also a Republican. I'd like to see, and I was made aware of that by a Democrat reporter last night on my TV show, The Right Squad, on Newsmax, 10 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. And it's like, yeah, George W. Bush had the courts rule against him twice. And I'm like, really? And he was president for 8 years? And, the reporter guy is like, yeah, I see it. It happens. I'm like, but how does that compare to 127 times in 2 months? It's actually since January 29th. So it's not yet 2 months. That's when we start the clock on the judges ruling against President Trump. And how many of them are Democrat nominees? They're Obama appointees nominees. They are Biden appointees, and they're Clinton appointees. They are Democrats who don't act as jurists, but as Democrat Party hacks. And certainly Tanya Chutkan is one of those. And Boasberg is one of those, too. But never mind all that. It is, they just rule against him because it's what they do. So we've got that going. And in the meantime, Tim Walz, the man who would be vice president, the man who claimed that he fought in Iraq and didn't, because Democrats do a lot of that, like Da Nang Dick. Got Da Nang Dick, the Democrats like to claim that they served in combat when they haven't, and the news media is fine with that because, Tim Walz admits Trump's appeal is making people feel like they're part of something, and that's that they're part of something. Yeah, trying to save the world from the communist left firebombing terrorist group that is the Democrat Party. That's what's going on. And in Newsom's new podcast, the Sacramento Bee, Tim Walz and Kamala Harris have vet to do. They have a lot to do, and that's but they say they have vet to do to debrief over election loss. They're just figuring out that they lost the election. Amazing stuff. And his daughter is posting videos that she's very upset that anyone would raise an eyebrow at tampons in boys' rooms in schools because you're beeping weird if you think that's not perfectly normal and appropriate. We're raising, well, the Democrats are raising generations of severely mentally ill people. We've got a Supreme Court Justice, Ketanji Brown Jackson, who's a woman but can't say what a woman is because she's not a biologist. Science is dead in the Democrat Party. Biology is dead in the Democrat Party. President Trump freezes $175 million that we're planning on sending to an Ivy League university, the University of Pennsylvania, for some reason, because they have men competing as women and stealing women's trophies and ribbons and their victories, because the Democrats have a lot of gender issues, the entire Democrat Party. They love Tren de Aragua and MS-13. They love Hamas and Hezbollah. The Democrat Party does, and they're firebombing Tesla dealership, which they half of them are driving Teslas, but they became mentally unwell, and now they're firebombing and shooting up Tesla dealerships and threatening. And we got a Democrat member of Congress saying she wants to see Elon Musk, taken down? Is that it, taken down? He's just talking. We played soundbite a couple of days ago. But all the death threats that he's getting now, Democrat members of Congress are calling for him to be taken down while his properties are being firebombed and shot up by Democrats everywhere you look. What is wrong with the Democrat Party? And Democrats don't call in anymore because I think of the mental illness. I don't think they know how to use phones anymore. 888-630-9625. Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at washingtontimes.com/Chris. Hey, we're back. On these crooked judges, it's time to start calling them out. And President Trump is doing that. He's picking the fight, and it's a good fight to pick. I've got to say, it came up yesterday at the White House briefing as well with the wonderful White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt talking about Judge Boasberg. Now, he's a Yale guy, Skull and Bones. George W. Bush was a Yale guy, and Skull and Bones, the secret society at Yale. And it's true that W. Bush appointed Judge Boasberg to a seat on the bench when he was president. But there was no political test. That was just an old Yale, backslapping Skull and Bones thing. But then Barack Hussein Obama, elevated Judge Boasberg. And you know that he had a political litmus test. So he knew that Boasberg was a left-wing radical from Yale. The Ivy League schools produce a lot of left-wing radicals. There's no doubt about that. So it was Obama that elevated Judge Boasberg, and the news media is like, Bush appointed him. Yeah, I bet he wishes that he hadn't now. But it was Obama that elevated him, and I can assure you Bush foolishly didn't have a political litmus test, but Barack Obama most certainly did. And then, of course, we have the Tanya Chutkin, another Obama appointee and a radical. But it came up at yesterday's White House briefing. And that was, that's something I'm going to share with you coming up because it's good stuff, and they should be sharing this. And, guess what? Boasberg's wife, politically active, all that good stuff. So we got that coming up for you. Our news media, the most corrupt institution in America. Yes, they are. At some point, I think the Democrat Party has to be identified as, the terrorism-rich organization that it is. They really are. Now, the Democrats, they've got their Global Day of Action coming up. Tesla Takedown. Will they stop when people get killed? I'm thinking probably not. But they're shooting up Tesla dealerships, and they're firebombing Tesla dealerships and Tesla automobiles individually and Tesla charging stations. And and that is terrorism. It is domestic terrorism. I believe that came up at the briefing yesterday, at the White House briefing yesterday as well. And it is clearly violent mob in many cases, sometimes individual terrorist acts. And these people need to be treated as terrorists because they are terrorists. And in fact, I know we talked about this on my television show last night on Newsmax. And they are treating it as domestic terrorism, and appropriately so, because when you're firebombing businesses targeting an individual, Elon Musk, with violent activity, which is designed to change behavior, it's the very definition of terrorism. And the Democrats are okay with that. The members of Congress, Democrats, are okay with that. The Tesla Takedown Global Day of Action. What kind of action do you think they're talking about? They're talking about violent action? And it's March 29th because the Democrats, they're little organizers, little beavers, just like Barack Obama. He was a community organizer, wasn't he? And they've got their Musk is out of control. 277 Tesla locations in the U.S., 500 plus around the world. Turn out in numbers to fight Elon Musk's illegal coup. It's an illegal coup. They are the coup plotters, and they are insurrectionists, and they are violent criminals that, it's a good thing they're not on Capitol Hill and it's not January 6th or something because, was the Capitol firebombed on January 6th repeatedly by Republicans? No? Did the Democrats set fire to the Church of the Presidents across from the White House when they spent 3 days attacking the White House as a violent mob? Yes, they did, I recall. And how many? I think more than 500 Catholic churches have been attacked in the last 2 years, violently attacked by who? Well, by Democrats in every single instance. And now they've got their Global Day of Action. Turn out in numbers to fight Elon Musk's illegal coup. It's really? The Secretary of State in the Biden administration, he wasn't elected, was he? He wasn't an elected official. Any of his department heads or secretaries elected? No, I don't think so. But they're orchestrating another. It's a global. They used to call it Day of Rage. Now they call it Day of Action, and they're violently attacking all kinds of just related to Elon Musk, who they loved a few minutes ago. A little fickle, these people, I think it would be fair to say. And you may know Democrat Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. Again, I played some in previous shows, in earlier shows, of the dealerships being violently attacked and firebombed, and the police calling it terrorism, and the Justice Department is calling it terrorism, and the FBI director, the new FBI director who actually wants to enforce the law, calling it terrorism, domestic terrorism, because it is domestic terrorism. And she's one of the little sweetheart honey pies of the Democrat Party, Jasmine Crockett, who is a racist and demented, and I'm sure she hates the Jews because, they're the Democrats. And that's one of their things these days, hating the Jews. Even their Jews hate the Jews. But Jasmine Crockett talking about her hatred and rage about Tesla and Elon Musk.
March 29th, it's my birthday. And all I want to see happen on my birthday is for Elon to be taken down. Yes.
All she wants on her birthday, this is the day of rage, the Tesla takedown. All she wants is to see Elon Musk taken down. Now, again, I've played audio of him over the last handful of days talking about all the death threats that he's experiencing now. And we have members of Congress who are part of this March 29th Global Day of Rage. And Elon Musk must be taken down. And again, well, you have it in front of you. I saw you starting to go for it. But let's go back to Crockett, number two, because the Democrat Party uses violence to achieve their political ends very frequently. Were it not for January 6th, the Democrats wouldn't have a single talking point And you know what happened that day? Ashley Babbitt was shot and killed while unarmed after serving 12 years in the United States Air Force honorably by Lieutenant Byrd without warning, no non-lethal force. And the Democrats applauded. They gave him dinners and awards and promoted him. And he benefited, and he walks around smiling to this day. I shot and killed that B word without warning. One shot, one kill, point blank range. Not exactly a, President Trump was shot. Congressman Steve Scalise was shot. Would-be assassins had to be gunned down. Just 2 suicide attacks of many that the Democrats have launched, violent terrorist suicide attacks. Jasmine Crockett.
There is only one language that the people that are in charge understand right now.
Violence?
And that language is money. And so I've been so proud to see us organize.
So proud to see us organize because on her birthday, March 29th, it's the Tesla Takedown Global Day of Action, targeting 277 Tesla locations around the country. And they're trying to internationalize it by going to Tesla locations around the world, hoping that they'll all be firebound because the party of the White Knights of the KKK live on in 2025 on the so-called Daily Show. Hey, is that still on television? Nobody watches it, but on the Daily Show, they're encouraging, and listen to the crowd respond. They're cheering the violent terrorist attacks on Elon Musk, who was their hero about a year ago.
And some people are not content to just scream about Elon in a high school gym. They're taking to the streets or the parking lots.
Tonight, the FBI and ATF now investigating multiple cases of possible arson targeting Teslas and Cybertrucks.
This dramatic video shows multiple cars in flames. Police say the attacker used Molotov cocktails. It's the latest in more than a dozen instances of arson and vandalism targeting Tesla.
The same suspect shot more Teslas with a gun. Tesla Cybertrucks were set on fire in Kansas City, and earlier this month, shots fired at a Tesla dealership in Oregon. Cybertrucks on fire in Seattle.
Wow, you guys like petty acts of domestic terrorism, huh?
Yeah, we do.
Wow. Okay.
That's today's Democrat Party, and it's yesterday's Democrat Party. And again, from the Confederate States of America and the White Knights of the KKK to the Students for a Democratic Society and the Weathermen and the Symbionese Liberation Army and the kidnappings, the assassinations, the terror attacks, the shootings. 4 American presidents have been assassinated. 3 of them were Republicans, including the first Republican president ever, Abraham Lincoln, who they assassinated because he freed the slaves and they really like slavery, which is why they really like lots of illegal aliens. It's their new form of slavery. It's cheap labor and, sexual abuse and all that good stuff. Pretty amazing stuff. Tim Walz, the man who would be vice president, but thankfully wasn't. I'm signing the cross because Kamala Harris, where's she? What is she? Somebody paying her millions of dollars a week now to do nothing. She's planning on running for governor of California because it's not dead quite yet, and she'll hold it underwater until it is. Tim Walz with the governor of California, hair gel guy, on his podcast.
Some of you know this on the iPhone. They've got that little stock app. I added Tesla to it to give me a little boost during the day. 225 and dropping. So, and if you own one, we're not blaming you. You can take dental floss and pull the Tesla thing off, and take out, just telling you.
Yeah, and again, where's that? It's a podcast. They have people cheering at a podcast, and in the Daily Show, they're cheering Molotov cocktails and fire bombings and domestic terrorism because the Democrat Party, the exalted Cyclops. Who is the exalted Cyclops of the Democratic Party today? These people. It came up. Tim Walz came up at the White House briefing yesterday with Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary. Hey, you see, Tim Walz doing a podcast with Gavin Newsom.
Tim Walz, Governor Walz, saying last night he frequently checks Tesla stock, in doing so to, quote, give me a little boost during the day. How should Americans view politicians who take pride in the downfall of an American car company.
I think that's quite sad, but I think Governor Walz, unfortunately, is living a sad existence after his devastating defeat on November 5th.
And the little Nazis go around calling everybody Nazis and scrawling and spray painting and scratching swastikas onto the cars that they so loved very recently. These people, gotta say, Caroline Levitt also noticed the violent attacks that they were cheering on The Daily Show.
We certainly think it's despicable, the violence that has taken place against Tesla, the company, its employees, and also just Americans who have chosen to drive an electric vehicle. Many of them are Democrats, by the way. Democrats were big supporters of Tesla and of electric vehicles until Elon Musk decided to vote for Donald Trump. So we would like Democrats to also come out and condemn this heinous violence that we have seen. And I believe the Attorney General has said she's investigating these incidents as acts of domestic terrorism.
At what point does the Democrat Party become the granddaddy of all domestic terrorist organizations in the United States? I mean, again, 2 or 3 would-be assassins of President Trump. He was actually shot once in Butler, Pennsylvania. Secret Service counter sniper. Now, that was 1 shot, 1 kill, and had to kill the Democrat on the rooftop. Another one crawling in the fence line in the bushes at President Trump's golf course in Florida with a rifle, planning on assassinating him, caught by the Secret Service again. Congressman Steve Scalise shot and nearly assassinated by James Hodgkinson, a Bernie Sanders campaign volunteer who was there to murder the entire Republican baseball team practicing on the baseball field. No problem. President Trump was on the Laura Ingraham program last night, was asked about the violence against Tesla.
Do you consider this an act of domestic terrorism?
I think so.
Why?
I think that if and when they catch the people, and I hope they do, the good thing is they have a lot of cameras in those places, and they've caught some already having to do with that. I think that you will find out that they're paid by people that are very highly political on the left.
Yeah, I think, I got to tell you, President Trump he's much more measured of late. Calm, cool-eyed, and nailing it all over the place, just nailing it all over the place. Now, this morning I was watching the television, and there's an organization in Silicon Valley, California, where all the leftists live, billionaires. Tesla Owners of Silicon Valley is the organization, and John Stringer is representative of the Tesla Owners of Silicon Valley.
Being in the Silicon Valley, they're more left-leaning anyways. And so it's really interesting to see that the violence that's happening, and even on the employees. I know so many of these employees. I know probably a couple hundred of them. And, just seeing what's happening to them, whether they're being spit on, whether they're being berated and yelled at. You're seeing calls happening to the actual sales and service centers for threats. But the people don't realize that these are hardworking Americans that that are just trying to put food on their table, that are working harder than ever to make really just to continue to push Tesla's mission forward.
Yeah, Tesla's mission, pushing it forward. But I played the audio of Elon Musk talking about the death threats that he's getting constantly.
So it's really unfortunate that it's come down to this, and it does feel in a lot of ways that things are being pushed and they're being forced to sell their Teslas. Just because of the car that they drove even before this new administration stepped in.
Fire sale on Teslas. Let's grab a phone call, Michael. Talk to the nice people. Let's go to Ron, calling from Woodbine, Maryland. Ron, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
Good morning, Chris. Thank you for taking my call. I was listening to you talk about these Tesla dealers being attacked and all this.
Yeah.
If you'll remember back when Bud Light put Dylan Mulvaney on the can and people got upset, all Republicans did was stop buying Bud Light. We didn't bomb anything. We didn't storm anything. We didn't tear anything up. We didn't threaten people. We just stopped buying Bud Light.
That is a fact, Jack. That is 100% right. Not firebombing Bud Light delivery trucks and distributorships and liquor stores. But the left is a criminal organization. And, for more than 100 years now, what the left does is they kill, they destroy, and they steal what's left.
Exactly. Yep.
Ron, I love the analogy. It's a wonderful analogy. Dylan Mulvaney. And what did you say? They just put him in the can? What did they do?
They put his picture on the can.
On the can. They put it on the can. Yeah. That's right. Not in the can.
Because it was some kind of celebrating, because he's one of those mixed-up individuals that thinks he can change his sex.
Yeah. Just the drop of kufi. Yeah, they're crazy, aren't they? And we've got a Supreme Court justice now that doesn't know what a woman is because she's not a biologist. And she's a woman. I know that she's a woman. I'm a man. I know what a woman is. I've checked. I have. Personally. I don't want to brag, but the Democrat Party, the granddaddy terror outfit of them all in the United States, certainly. You know, we have Democrats self-immolating at the Israeli embassy, killing himself, active duty Air Force. Self-immolating at the Israeli consulate in Atlanta, Georgia. I think she might have lived. Self-immolating, killing himself outside the Trump courthouse in New York. Shooting Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania. Shooting Steve Scalise at a baseball field in Alexandria, Virginia. And January 6th. Stop shooting people. Stop setting yourself on fire. Stop the suicide attacks. Lest we forget, the guy that blew himself up in the Tesla Cybertruck at the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas and killed himself weeks ago now. Let's go to the telephones. Let's go to Dan, calling from Reston, Virginia. Daniel, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
Hey, Chris. Thanks for taking my call. Two quick points. So people have been calling in, making the comparison between Bud Light, Dylan Mulvaney, and Elon Musk and Tesla. From what I've seen and listening to Riley Gaines talk about Leah Thomas, in swimming, and with Dylan Mulvaney, they haven't really committed. Those guys who want to say that they are now women haven't really committed. Meaning, I'm not looking in their drawers, but listen to Riley Gaines. She talked about the bulge in that Leah Thomas had. I bet he goes back to dating women. I bet he's not really committed. He's going to beat the crap out of women, win all the trophies, and then go back to being a guy. And Dylan Mulvaney is entertaining, and he tries to be funny, but he hasn't really committed to being a woman. And it's like you can have your face changed, but he hasn't changed the rest of his body. It's all crap.
I think that if Leah Thomas did go back to dating women, if he ever did, he'd identify as a lesbian.
That could be. And I don't want to take up a lot of time. So with regard to Elon, this stuff that's going on with Teslas and people firebombing, and you know this, that if the Democrats see that this works, they will continue to do it. So we need to, and Tesla owners need to fight back, and they need to. And they are arresting those people. But it's like if the Democrats find that this works, they will do it even more.
Oh, absolutely true. Yeah, they are capable of learning, I guess. I think every one of them went to an Ivy League institution, which it turns out we're funding. We got bus drivers across America funding Ivy League colleges. That's coming up.